Hey, hope everybody is doing well. If you like our content, please subscribe below and share these videos if you can. So there's been a lot of propaganda regarding immigration and this change in gender roles that we've seen in the last 50, 60 years, which of course caused this decline in family structure. So why is this very, very important? Because all these are tied in together and they're powered by the welfare state. As you know, a lot of these changes started in the 1960s, and perhaps one of the most devastating decades in American history, because you've got the Hart-Celler Act and a lot of these horrible negative policies. And many of the economic pro-Wall Street policies came in the 1980s and 90s, which of course they're really behind all these things. But in this video, what I really want to talk about is how the MGTOW community should be opposed, or anybody, for mass immigration. And why is that really the case? So they talk about how this organization, the Mercatus Center, which I believe it's funded by the Koch brothers, billionaires, they usually are pro-mass immigration. So this just tells you that low immigration is something that is a benefit for the American people. That they talk about how more of them is needed to offset COVID-19 and America's demographic decline. So somehow we're supposed to believe in this propaganda that in order to reduce the deficits of population, in order to bring more people, the slow growth of American population and workforce, we need to import more third worlders from Guatemala and Haiti just to make our country better. Well, last time I checked, I found out that America has about an equal ratio of male and females. We have all these able bodies that are still fertile. Well, why can't they have children? You see, that's where the problem is. The thing is that they don't want people to wake up to this notion, because if they did, the establishment is very much against men and women having healthy relationships, women, of course, bonding with somebody, staying more time at home, having children, especially not out of wedlock, and contributing to population growth, and not to mention building a healthy and stable society. But they don't want that. You see, these are the same pieces of garbage that are also responsible for the gender decline in this country. Now, I know there has been a growth of all these MGTOW Anti-Feminist or modern women channels, which, by the way, to be fair, men have actually declined too in the last several decades as well, in many ways. But whether you're looking at Better Bachelor, many of these other channels, Sandman, they'll tell you how the modern woman has declined. She's out there sleeping with so many guys in her 20s. She's out there focusing too much on careers and school and not focusing on a real man. And then, of course, she loses her time when she is very fertile and she has really good looks. And this is what we see as a result. So you can see your big daddy, the media controls them. I'm an independent woman. I'm a privileged man. Men still heavily support the system. The vast majority of taxpayers, nearly all of the infrastructural workers and innovators, but nevertheless, women, these PACs pump these pro-women groups. They get much of the welfare, the consumption. And by the way, of course, Hispanic and Black women are more likely to be single moms, which further proves that they're more likely to get welfare. And then, they use men to get child support, taxpayer-funded programs, all this other nonsense. And then basically children are grown up without a father in the present. So more consumers, more taxpayers, and workers. So this is how ugly and disgusting this process is. And this is one of the reasons I'm hoping that we'll have an economic disaster. Hopefully, the national debt grows so high that we can hope that, they can't get their taxpayer-funded services, and this whole system breaks down. Another thing we can hope is that the United States breaks up, and many states like Idaho, Nebraska, Kentucky can say, no, we don't want to be part of this. Let these other societies that go with this, fail, and their civilization begins to collapse. So let's take a look. They talk about how population growth has been very, very slow. So as a result, the Trump administration, declining levels of immigration, people have been leaving because of the horrible economy, which a lot of indicators show it's likely going to get worse because I told you about this earlier. Bond yields are starting to go up. It's reversing a 40-year trend. And we see the mortgage rates are starting to creep back up. And then if that continues to creep up, that's going to hurt housing demand. And that means that it's going to crash the economy. More immigrants, particularly the ones working in construction and other services, are going to leave. So what's going to happen as a result? Well, we're not going to have lots and lots of population growth. And again, why should we have more people in this country? Really? I think most people agree with 330 million people. That's just enough. Why do we need more people? More traffic? More congestion? For what? Oh, we need higher GDP levels. Oh, we need more workers. It's just BS. It's so the special interest groups can get cheaper labor, more votes, more power, and just like low interest rates, it can artificially inflate the economy. But is this going to affect our standard of living in a positive way? I doubt it. So as you can see, they can tell you, oh, the births are declining. They're not very, very high. Of course, this is the millions of births. And you can see here that the deaths have been going up a lot. Net migration has been very, very low. And by the way, this tells you that people are saying we're being invaded by immigrants. Not really. I mean, immigration is still relatively low in the 1990s. Natural population growth percentage is very, very low. Net migration is very, very low. And they tell you, oh, well, we're going to have less spending in the economy. Look, we don't necessarily need a better economy by importing more people. We need higher standard of living. We need higher wages. And more people, by the way, means more demand for housing. That's the other thing that they're not telling you. So, but they tell you, okay, well, we can increase the total fertility rate, but nevertheless, they're not really advocating as the main source of this article, because they probably believe that this will have a huge blow to feminism. And feminism and mass immigration powered by the welfare state, they're all connected with one another. Seriously, why do we need more people? So our governments are going to be more out of touch? You want us to become like China? You probably should move to a country like China. And look, they're basically bringing out more of this propaganda. How Latinos saved American cities. Now think about it, folks. These are the same people who are telling us we need to have less children because we need to save the planet. We need to have less children because women want to be independent. And not to mention, the cost of living is going up. Student loans are making it harder for people to form marriages and have babies. And by the way, one of the reasons why marriages have been falling, it's not really because of the economy. It's because there's not much incentives anymore. People don't want to deal with courts and divorces. You've got this horrible job market. You have the marriage and dating climate, which is pretty harsh. And by the way, one of the reasons why births are not happening very commonly as much as they used to is because of all these apps that's really ruining the dating market. And they tell us, oh, well, we need more immigration to somehow save Social Security and Medicare. And so you can see here in these articles, urban renewal, yeah. And we need to reverse our hatred that's been given by the Trump administration. Well, first of all, what's wrong if cities decline in population? Now, you can argue, yeah, it hurts their tax base. It creates a lot of decline. It basically creates a lot of urban decay. But maybe perhaps you can argue if cities like Chicago, San Francisco lost a lot of people, New York, then that probably encouraged their cities to implement better policies to encourage the people who fled to come back. But what they want to do is they want to replace them. They're not incentivizing to actually make them better. They're replacing them. Why? Because they tell you, oh, it's revitalizing. But in reality, what they're trying to do is they're trying to pump the failed policies of these cities like Los Angeles, and they can jack up their GDP. They can basically say, oh, we're doing a good job, and this way they can get more votes. They can promote all this identity politics, Latino rights, Latino agenda, exclude others, call each other a racist. Now, nevertheless, of course, you can also argue that if the Latinos didn't take over much of Los Angeles, then we would have had a much larger black population, okay? But one of the unintended consequences of that is now all the blacks who are leaving California, they're coming to Las Vegas. But then again, this is all giving them cheap labor. It's all inflating the population growth. And they're also saying, yeah, like, well, we need them to inflate our home prices so home prices don't depreciate. Well, hey, maybe this is why housing is so expensive. Because more people means more demand. So you would want home prices to fall so people can buy it in the bargains. They can revitalize their neighborhood. You don't need foreign cultures, which brings conflict and other issues, to bring back the cities. This is just totally misleading and flawed information that they are giving you. So why can't we have these cities fail, not pump mass immigration, encourage basically folks in the US, particularly European Americans, to have more kids, to take back their American cities, make it these great, amazing European first world societies that they were, and really bring in a renaissance. But oh no, we need multiculturalism. Yeah, so they can outvote us and they can concentrate more and more power. That's just how horrible and how sick the establishment really, really is. And this is how they're spewing all this propaganda. And by the way, if you want to contact this author, this is his email and this is his number. And please send this video to him if you can. And of course, I just forgot to tell you this about Ruben Kihuen. As you know, Ruben Kihuen is a lot like me. He lived in Orange County, then he moved to Las Vegas. So I guess you might want to ask his family, well, why did he leave California? Because California is a more welcoming state for immigrants. They get more benefits. See, it's kind of ironic how blacks and Latinos, they flood an area, their voting habits destroy California, and then when they can't make it, they move to Nevada and change the laws. But they don't realize, or they don't want to tell you, that their presence, their political impacts, changed the game and made it worse. But I guess Orange County was too expensive for you, Ruben Kihuen, because a lot of you illegals, you couldn't make it. So what did you decide to do? You decided to trash the other neighborhoods in the east side of Vegas, knowing the fact that you couldn't make it in Laguna Niguel and Irvine and Santa Ana. Man, what a sham. Look, folks, let's spread this information. Let's make sure that their plans come to fail. And hopefully, once we get out there, we push back and we make sure that this whole establishment crumbling down. Thank you guys so much.